folks, my name's Tom Vassell. Welcome to Board Game Breakfast. We're so glad you're here. Me and a bunch of other folk are going to talk about board games and the people who play them. We had a lot of different videos out last week. Cool Mini or Not, we did some playthroughs of their different games. So we hope that you enjoy those. If you want to see how those games work, you can go back and watch those. But there is plenty of other stuff happening. I'll be doing a live Q&A later today. So check our YouTube channel to see exactly when I've scheduled that for. Come by and ask questions there. And we got other stuff going on this week as we prepare, because next week we're going to the UK Gaming Expo. But we'll talk about that next Board Game Breakfast. Right now, let's get started with the news. Okay, folks, so in the news this week, first of all, Steve Jackson's announced a few things. Of course, more Munchkin stuff, but they also announced Mertoons or Mweretoons mix-up. This is based on a cartoon of the same name, and apparently it's kind of an Uno-style game. Z-Man Games has announced a couple things. First, number 9, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's a game in which you're going to be drawing tiles and placing them on top, and you're trying to put them on top of each other. It's like a tile stacking game. It's actually a pretty fun game, so look forward to this one. And they also announced Smile from Michael Shock. This is a game where you're trying to catch different critters that have escaped by using lightning bugs. The artwork here is really gorgeous in this game. I'm pretty pumped about this also. I'm also pumped about the Fireside game that they announced, Kaiju Crush, another monster smashing game. Now, it does feel like giant monster, Kaiju, King Kong, Godzilla is the in thing, right? There's several of these games being announced this year. But Fireside Games has made some pretty good games, so I'm sure this one's a lot of fun. Cryptozoic has picked up The Arrival. This game from Martin Wallace. It has a really cool cover. Sam is a big fan of this game, did a positive review of it. I think came out of Essen in 2016. So let's see, it just seems like an odd choice for Cryptozoic to pick up, but we're starting to see Martin Wallace's games pop up all over the place. Spin Master, a company that makes games and toys, has bought Marbles. Games for smart people. It's like a chain. You could see they had like the nice wooden style games. I went to their website, but their website's not working currently. But I looked around, that kind of like wooden nice versions of different games, and they just carry different games. So we'll see where that ends up. IDW has a cooperative game based on the comic Wayward. So that looks interesting, especially since the designer is John Gilmore, who's one of the designers on Dead of Winter. Anyway, Meeple Mountain is a new board game cafe that's opening up in Nashville. This is the first one in Nashville, so we're seeing one there. Hopefully you guys in Nashville will enjoy that. AEG has announced Cutthroat Kingdoms. This game's coming out later this year. You can go read the rule book online. At first I was like, oh, this looks like another one of their love letter small games. It's not. There's a ton of components in it. It looks like a much heavier style social deduction. You're attacking and being peaceful. It looks interesting. I just kind of gave the rules an overview, but just that overview, I'm like, this game looks really like my style of game. I'm hoping it is. And finally, the Spiel des Jahres nominees were announced today, but since I recorded this video last week, I don't know what they are. But you can go find that out, and I'll talk more about them next week. I wonder what they are. I'm really hoping Century is one of the nominees, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's keep going.
Happy breakfast, everybody. From punny shirts to warring seafood, we've got quite the mix of things to look at today, so let's get going. Game publisher Jelly Bean Games is offering some new gamer t-shirts that are designed to tickle the geekery of us board gamers. Meeple's Republic plays on the idea of worker placement. The Settlers of Cat is adorable and clever. And Shirt the Game features icons that represent dozens of games for you and your friends to identify. Jelly Bean Shirts is focusing on quality and using soft, high-quality shirt bases and screen printing the designs. You can get your favorite shirt for $24 plus shipping, or all 3 shirts for $57 plus shipping. Farsight takes place in a future where there are no more nations. Instead, corporations fight for control and the world is wrecked by environmental disasters. This is a tactical battle game that has a nice twist with a shadow map. On the primary board, players deploy units to the map. Conflicts are won through battle or coercion and are influenced by the unit's position and abilities and even the landscape. Additionally, players place hidden units on their personal shadow maps. These spies, assassins, and saboteurs wreak havoc on the enemy and work to hunt down opponents' shadow units. Meanwhile, events like plagues, tornadoes, and lightning storms will have to be survived each round. Farsight is a card and dice-driven game, but it also has 40 high-quality optional miniatures for the units. You can get the base game for £45 or get both the game and the miniatures for £90 plus shipping. Ursa Minor is the honey mining game that you might have been waiting for. Ursa Minor is a tile exploration game in which each player has a team of bears exploring Mount Honeycomb. You're searching for honey and royal jelly. You'll gather resources, expand your team, and use equipment to explore inward and downward on the board, because the board of Mount Honeycomb is comprised of 3 layers of tiles that you must dig down through, and of course the richer treasure is deeper in the board. The variable tile setup and the bonus cards and actions help mix things up between games. Ursa Minor is light and quick, and it has that bear pun charm. You can get a copy for a pledge of $24 plus shipping. Mr. B Games is bringing us Aviation Tycoon. This is a pick up and deliver and light stock game that's pitched as kind of a cross between Ticket to Ride and Acquire. Players invest in airlines, but you don't really own one, and then you work to deliver the passengers. You'll get payouts based on the shares that you own of the airlines whose routes are being used, and you can actually become president of one of the different airlines for bonus dollars. Additionally, players get a unique one-use special action card that rotates between players each round. Event cards will impact all the players, sometimes positively, sometimes negatively, and the game scales to player count. Aviation Tycoon takes a pledge of $52 plus shipping, but at the time of this recording, there were still some early bird discounted pledges available. Frutti di Mare brings an uncommon theme to the table as players are warring king crabs on a plate of spaghetti. A figurehead leader, the king crabs recruit seafood that provide different abilities. Scallops and mussels gain income, shrimp attack and defend, and so forth. The king crab itself can only give motivational speeches to bolster its troops. Players will use their fishy foodstuffs to move and attack and try to hold the center of the plate or knock out the opponent's crabs. Frutti di Mare is light, quick, and it's a whimsical game that you can get for a pledge of €25 plus shipping. And finally, Tiny Sword Smash is a game paying homage to Super Smash Bros. In this tile sliding game, you lead a team of monsters with a unique captain as you fight for control of the heart of the battle. You can slide face-up monsters based on their movement points, pushing the tiles in your way. You can battle monsters in a kind of rock, paper, scissors mechanism that allocates damage, which in turn slides those monsters further away when they're pushed. And you can also flip tiles. Face-down tiles are basically unmovable, but they can be flipped back over by opponents through clever bumping. When you drive all the opponent's monsters or just their captains off the table, you win. A copy of this cute pixel art game takes a pledge of $30 plus shipping. Alrighty, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week.
Hi, I'm Chaz Marler of Pair of Dice Paradise, and I'm confused. More than usual, I mean. Let me explain. As others in the hobby are well aware, board games provide a limitless variety of challenges and puzzles to solve. But sometimes, it's not just the games that give you something to scratch your head about, but the publishers of those games as well. And such is the case with USAopoly. USAopoly is perhaps best known for developing a wide variety of Monopoly clones since 1994. And so, with a reputation as the place where creativity goes to suffer in Monopoly form, USAopoly has never been more than a satirical blip on my radar. But then, they got involved with Telestrations, which is a fantastic party game, and Tapple, which is an underrated party word game, and then Star Trek Panic, and the Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle Cooperative deck building game, all of which are, arguably, very well-designed modern board games that introduce some new twists and innovations on previous designs. Yes, it looked like USAopoly was beginning to march in an exciting new direction. And then they took an abrupt U-turn this week with the announcement of their newest title, Clue, Golden Girls. USAopoly, are you trolling us? Based on the 80s sitcom, Golden Girls Clue will challenge players to unravel the mystery of who ate the last piece of cheesecake, where they did it, and which iconic item from the television program they left at the scene of the crime. Now, okay, yeah, to be fair, I haven't yet played this game of geriatric gumshoes. This version of Clue right here may very well turn out to be the best board game ever made. The single culmination of mankind's ever-improving achievements in the realm of game design. Or it's a game where the box itself leaves us wondering if they were actually able to secure the rights to use Betty White and Estelle Getty's likenesses. Ugh. And so, I have to concede defeat. USAopoly, you win this round. You continue to be a puzzle of a publisher that's always just one step ahead of me. I just can't figure you out. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to stop trying to figure out what's going on in that publisher's mind of yours. I'll go ponder your prerogative over a nice long game of Monopoly Offshore Engineers Edition. Who are you?
Hello everybody, welcome to Miniature World this week. Today I'm going to talk about a game that's been sitting on my shelf for about a month because I just was afraid to touch it, and that's, Warhammer Quest Shadows over Hammerall. Now, I was really afraid that this was just another Silver Tower. And Silver Tower was a disappointment because it had the Warhammer Quest name, but the game really wasn't Warhammer Quest. Well, this one's a little more like it. The miniatures are beautiful, as you can see, and I painted all those. But this one has a little bit more of the role-playing like the Warhammer Quest. But it takes some of the things from the Silver Tower. It almost has an identity crisis. And the final thing is you have a dungeon master, which kind of ruins it. Now, I love the miniatures, and this is a miniature segment. But I just wish, instead of putting all these out, just reprint Warhammer Quest. It wouldn't hurt, would it? Until next time, I'm Rob Orrin. We'll see you soon.
Hey, I think I see one of my buddies down there. I think I will stay here. Thanks for the ride. See ya!
Hitchhikers. Well, today we're going to take a quick look at Five Tribes. Five Tribes is a game for 2 to 4 players, designed by Bruno Cathala and published by Days of Wonder.
In this adventure, you will take your caravan to the sultanate of Nakala by moving 5 different tribes throughout the region and become the most influential person of Nakala by invoking genies and recruiting assassins, elders, builders, marchands, and viziers. The player turn's order will be decided at the beginning of each round by using an auction system where players will bid their precious gold to get first choice on moving around the board. And the most influential player will become the new ruler of Nakala. I kind of enjoy it. Kind of a fun game. You didn't like much, did you?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this game because, it has a lot of analysis paralysis, especially when you're playing with my mom.
Yeah, mommy thinks a little bit too much. I particularly enjoy a lot. I think it's a great game for 2 players, maybe up to 3 players. I would never play 5 Tribes with 4 players. I like it a lot. My wife likes a lot, but that one doesn't like as much.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Five Tribes.
Go watch TV or something else. That's a review for 5 Tribes. An excellent game if you like Mankala's system and, mixing tiles, a little bit of auction. It's a fun game.
Paralysis.
No. That's it for today. Till next time.
See you around the table.
Bye.
Five Tribes. Such a boring game.
Okay, what is the Dice Tower putting out this week? Well, we have a lot of reviews that are coming your way. Still consistently reviewing the different games that are coming out. I'll be taking a look at the upgrade pack for Rum and Bones. I'll be taking a look at some games from Haba. I'll be taking a look at the Oregon Trail board game. Also, in totally unrelated news, I'm going to be totally slamming another game this week. You can try to guess which one of the games I just mentioned it might be. So there's lots of things coming out this week. Of course, also the Dice Tower podcast. We'll be posting another episode of that where Eric and I, for our shorter episode, we'll be talking about escape room games in it to some degree. And there's going to be a top 10 coming this week. Top 10 things that designers need to stop doing. And we got a Throw Punch Lunch coming out on Wednesday. So there's a lot of different shows coming out this week. Check them out.
Hey everyone, it's
Lunchtime!
Today we're going to be looking at Capital Lux. It's a game published by Aporta Games, designed by Eilif Svensson and Christian Osby. It plays 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, in about 20 to 30 minutes.
Ooh, so I love this little game. Lots going on. We have some card drafting that happens, so each player's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. And we're actually going to pass these to the left, taking 2 at a time, another 2, and then you're going to be left with the last 2. Now, this is dependent on the amount of players, so we won't get into too much detail. These cards are great because it shows you all the same colors. We got a few that are upside down here that match what's in our capital, which is where we're trying to play cards, but we're also trying to play cards in our hometown. So these have different types of actions. So at the end of the game, we're trying to collect the most points. So the player who gets in their hometown more of a total than what's in the capital is going to get the highest number here. So this is going to count towards bonus points at the end of the game. We're going to play 3 rounds, going super fast. I'm trying to get it all in there for you in order to collect those points, and whoever has the most points wins. Probably missed something in there. You guys can throw something in at any time.
Well, what I particularly love is you play either to the capital or you play to your own hometown, but you got to be careful because if you bust, then you lose what you have. So you got to balance out where you're playing them based on what the abilities give you and what you're trying to get into your hometown for points.
The card art, for me, I really love the card art. It looks a bit futuristic. You got ray guns and various things. So it's a fun light game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely want to get all your cards out because once you've done that, you've kind of set a time limit on everybody else because I think you have 1 more turn to get your cards out. And if you have cards in your hand, guess what? They go right into your hometown, so you could go bust a lot faster.
Exactly.
Great game. Plays in about 30-45 minutes. I would say that is accurate, and lots of math.
No, not too much math. Trust me, I don't like math.
It's not that mathy.
I work with math. What can I say? So I think that's it. We like this game, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Hello everyone, my name's Annette, and you may know me as Netters Plays. And today on Applied Mechanics, I'm going to go over number 9. Now, number 9 has a really interesting tile laying mechanism, so let me show you how it's applied in the game and what I really like about it. So here are all the tiles that come with the game, and it fits very well in this insert. Along with the game are these different cards, and these cards have these different numbers that are all in the box. After shuffling your deck, you're going to go ahead and turn over the first card. Every player will get that tile and go ahead and play it. Then you flip the next card and you play that tile. You place that tile adjacent to at least one of the edges of the other tile. If you ever want to place a tile on top of your already existing tiles, then you can do so by placing that tile on top of anything that does not have a gap. So you cannot place it on top of that area, or you cannot have it hanging over your tiles. It also has to go on at least 2 different tiles. So at the end of your game, your puzzle may end up looking like this. As you can see, there are different layers of height. So there's a layer 0, which is at the very bottom, and then layer 2 in this case would be the one on top of that first layer. You can add those numbers up and multiply it by 2, which is the layer it's on. You add up your total score, and then you compare that with all the other players. So as you can see, number 9 is very interesting because the tiles themselves aren't squares or rectangles. They're all these different shapes and sizes. Another neat thing about the game is the way that the tiles are laid. You cannot lay on top of another tile unless the tiles themselves don't have any gaps or if that tile is not protruding out. It also has to lay on at least 2 different tiles, so you really have to have a great foundation before placing another tile on top.
And the last thing is the interaction between all players, because you're all working on the same puzzle. So at the end, your puzzles are all going to look different, and that's what makes the game very fun and enjoyable, because it's all a matter of who did it best. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Okay, so what's on the shelf today? Well, this is obviously some amazing games. We'll just start here with Cosmic Encounter. Amazing! Best game ever. Although it's not all in the box, I have some pieces of this in a few card containers and things that are on another shelf. All right, so then we have Lost Valley here, which is a game I really enjoy, about mining for gold. I wouldn't mind if the production quality was a little better, but I got a couple things upgraded through it, and it's just such a great game. Royals, of course, Dice Tower Essential. A great light area control game. Assault of the Giants. Now, I've been upgrading my Assault of the Giants. You've noticed that these giants have been appearing on my shelf in various ways because I want to upgrade them to be like the kings, the leaders of the giants in there. But still, a lot of fun. This one is a new addition. St. Petersburg, really enjoy this game, especially with 2 players. The secondary version is extremely fun. Orleans and Handle and Intrigue expansion here. I actually own both expansions, and they both pretty much fit into this box. A few of them are in the original one, but I have the deluxe Orleans, and so it's hard to fit everything inside. And Legends of Drizzt. This is one of 3 boxes that I have scattered throughout my shelves because of their size. This slightly wider box size helps fit things in nice and neatly, but this is actually probably the single best version of the Dungeons & Dragons adventure board game system. But anyway, some amazing games and really diverse. I mean, we got hardcore Euro games, and then we got Ameritrash style games, area control, and this one is kind of like, I don't know how to explain Lost Valley. It's a very unique game than Cosmic Encounter, which is in the category of amazing greatness, epic of all time.
Hello, my name's Dan, and this is Cora, and we're here today to talk to you about board games for children around 5 and under. And today, we're going to talk about this game. What is it, Cora?
It's Mr. Men Bounce, but they put on the pack Bounce Mr. Men.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There are 2 different games you can play with a pack of Mr. Men Bounce cards. The first one is a simple Spot the Difference game, where each player takes one of the 26 different pairs of cards and races to find 6 differences on them. The other game's a sort of observation quiz. The players have 10 seconds to study a card, and then it's flipped over, and they have to answer a set of questions about it that are printed on the other side. There are some rules included about bouncing turns in between each player, but to be honest, Cora and I pretty much ignore these, and just take it in turns to see how many questions we can get right. I particularly like the fact that this is a quiz game that doesn't require the younger players to be able to read. When it's the adult's turn to answer, they can just hold the card up with the questions facing them and the picture facing the child and read the questions off, and the child can just enjoy checking the answers by looking at the picture. What I don't like about this game is that Cora usually thrashes me at it. So Cora, do you like Mr. Men Bounce?
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
I like it because actually I like both games. I like Quiz Game and Spot the Difference.
Yeah? Do you like what do you like about the quiz game?
It's kind of like Spot the Difference, but 2 people get a card.
That's right, yeah.
Spot the Difference, but 2 people get a card and there's questions in it.
And you've got to really observe and try and work out.
Yeah.
You've got to guess what the questions are going to be, don't you? I could see you guessing. Remembering what colour the hat was. And there's also lots of different types of this game. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head what they are, but I'm sure magically they'll appear around here somewhere. Mm-hmm. So we give Mr. Men Bounce 2 bouncy thumbs up.
Welcome to the thrift store, where 2 brothers with 5 whole dollars attempt to find the most interesting or strange board game from yesteryear and review it for you. This is Thrift Store Throwbacks.
Where in the world is
Carmen San Diego?
Where is she?
Where?
Carmen?
Where you at, girl?
Is this her?
No, that's Roger.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are we sure, though?
Is that Roger?
Is that Roger?
Carmen San Diego is a geography trivia game where Carmen San Diego and her goons have stolen a national monument. Each player has been given a detective and a henchman and a clue. You're going to spin the dial to figure out which monument Carmen Sandiego has stolen. It could be something like the Statue of Liberty or Mount Everest, which is mobile and stealable. On your turn, you're going to be trying to capture everyone else's henchmen. So you're going to answer a geography question like, what creates fjords, rain, wind, or glaciers? If you get that correct, you get to move 5 spaces towards someone else's henchman, or you can move your henchman 5 spaces away from everyone else. When you capture someone's henchman, you get another piece of the puzzle. Once you gather 4 clues, you go to a police station and get a warrant. So you're going to spin the wheel, and wherever it lands, say Machu Picchu, that's where the goon is hiding, and you're going to be racing to get there as fast as humanly possible. Everyone else who didn't find the clues just goes to a police station, gets their own warrant, spins the dial to figure out where their goon is hiding, and tries to get there before you get to yours. So that was... So what do you think, man? Did you like this game? I liked it just fine. I like geography, but if you don't like geography and you don't like trivia games, this isn't going to change your mind and you're probably not going to enjoy it.
This game is actually kind of cool because it does employ some strategy in terms of, do I want to be really aggressive with my detectives and try to entrap henchmen and keep my henchmen away? My only real gripe would be that once you do the detective work and you find all the clues and someone makes an accusation, if they're right, then everybody's just in foot race mode. Go to a police station, get a warrant, and spin for a landmark, and it might be right next to that police station, and you win without having done the hard part.
The geography, there aren't gimmies. It's not just like, where is New York? In New York.
So that was Carmen Sandiego. You can check us out on social media right up in here.
Until next time, we have been the Brothers Murph, and we will see you at the thrift store.
See you there.
Okay, today I wanted to talk a little bit more about what I talked about last week, where I talked about how us reviewing games isn't really based on that publisher or designer. But I want to talk about it from a personal standpoint, for you and for me. And when it comes to is, when do you refuse to buy or play a game based on something that's not necessarily in the game itself, like the designer or the publisher? So what I mean by that is, like, you might highly disagree with a philosophy that maybe, we'll just say designer for now, that the designer has. The designer has a worldview that's completely opposed to you. What do you do in that case? You know, how do you deal with them? Do you play their games? Or maybe they've committed some sort of crime, or maybe you met them at a convention and they were an idiotic jerk, or, you know, it might have something to do with the game itself. That philosophy that they have might come through in the game itself, but likely not. So my question here is, how do you deal with that? So, you know, I play a game and this person, let's say they're a racist, right? They're a racist online, and I look at this person like, Now, I'm not saying that I have any specific games in mind. I really don't. But I do know that this sort of thing happens in movies and music, right? Where a director, a producer, an actor, you disagree and you're like, every time I see them in a movie, I just can't watch it because I think about what they've done or who they are. Or someone's music and you listen to it and you're like, I love this musical piece. But every time I listen to it, I think of what this person has done. Well, this can be really kind of a tough thing to deal with in the board gaming world. And so many times it might be personal, like, well, this person, I heard about what they did to so-and-so, or, you know, some of the things that they posted on their Twitter feed or Facebook, I really have a problem with. And I think this is going to come down to a personal thing. Now, it could become a scorn from others. I don't think this is in the board gaming world so much where, like, everybody else is ignoring this person, you should too. But that can happen in some places. Or maybe, you know, it's just a personal preference that you have. And is there like a level of badness? So like if I found that person has cheated on their spouse, is that something that's worth me not playing their game over? What if they committed murder? Okay, you know, there's like different levels here. So how do you deal with that sort of thing? And I find this sort of thing as a fascinating topic to discuss because I really don't know where I stand on it myself. I know that there was one game last year. I refused to play the game because the publisher in particular had done something and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be involved with that game. That game looks interesting, but because of some unethical things that this publisher had done that I knew personally had happened, I said, I'm not going to play that game. But I didn't stop other people from playing it. I didn't even make a big deal about it. I just said, basically, I'm not really interested in playing this particular game. But what do you guys think about that? And that's kind of where I'm curious. If you find out that someone is a vile person. And again, this is subjective, I guess, how vile someone is. I mean, sometimes I guess it's not so subjective, but you know, every time I think about that, it's horrible. I mean, you might think about that about us, right? Because we might have a different worldview than you. Do you go to that game and say, yeah, you know, even though I like this game, I cannot support this person financially by buying the game? Or maybe it doesn't bother you at all. Maybe you think that the person, what they do in their personal private life is very different than what they do as a company owner or designer of a game or an artist or whatever they have to do with it. So let me know in the comments, because I'm very curious to see what other people think about this subject. I kind of waffle on it myself, and sometimes someone will say, I can't believe you're listening to music or watching a movie with this person. And I'm like, I didn't know that. You kind of ruined it a little bit now for me. But will I still listen to that music or watch that movie? I don't know. That's a choice I have to make. It's a choice you have to make. Where do you draw the line?
Hi, Mike Delisio from Solomode Games. You know, summer is right around the corner, and for many of us, that's a time for travel, visiting friends, family, etc. One of the things I like to do when I go on a trip is bring along some solo games, so if I get a chance to play some games on my own, I try to do that. But oftentimes, space is at a premium. So, small footprint solo games are always something I'm on the lookout for. I think many of us could probably handle a bag this size, doesn't take up too much space. How many solo games could I get in here? You might be surprised. Let's take a look at what we got here. Ahead in the Clouds, there's 1. Ultra Tiny Epic Kingdoms, 2. Mint Works, it's in a mint tin, 3. Rolling America, 4. Sheffy, 5. Project Dreamscape, 6. This is a bit of a cheat. There's 2 in here. 11s is for 1, and Bowling Solitaire. 7, 8. Manhattan Project, Chain Reaction. This is 9. This is actually the deluxe box. There's even a smaller version. And then finally, Multi-Universum, 10. 10 solo games fit in this very small bag. Hopefully this gives you the idea that you can get quite a bit of gaming in a very little bit amount of space. Do you have some small solo games that are among your favorites? If so, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Hey there, my name is Nils from Cyril's Brettspiele, and today in The Best and the Worst we are taking a closer look at Saboteur Duel, a very classical 2-player game version. Let's jump into it. My favorite part on Saboteur the Duel is that you still build your dungeon and you still try to reach the goal cards at some point. And I really wish it would be a good one, but honestly it felt so short for me. I mean, the nature, the aspect of the game, the essence of the game Saboteur was always that you don't know if there's a traitor in it, a real saboteur. I mean, it's what the name is saying. And in a 2-player game, hey, hell yeah, it comes down to, oh, do I draw some sabotage cards, yes or no? Can I try to little bit tackle you down, yes or no? Wow, that is probably not what I expected. Sorry guys for having such a devastating thing, but this game totally fell short for me. That was my favorite part of Duel from Saboteur. See you next week here live on the Dice Tower Breakfast. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Gary Pope, and this is What Should I Get, where we basically go on the board game subreddit on Reddit and we basically recommend games for people. Now let's start. GZE Law is looking for a game for 3 to 5 players that can literally play out for an entire day, but has the option to actually shorten and actually be able to play within a couple hours. For this one, I would definitely suggest going the Legacy route, and I would start with either Risk Legacy or Pandemic Legacy. That really depends on if you want a cooperative or competitive game. Prosopoligen is looking for a game that has a similar fighting mechanic that's in Fury of Dracula, except they want it in a shorter, more compact game. Now for this, if they literally purely want a fighting game kind of, I would definitely suggest Yumi or BattleCon. but if they're actually trying to look for actually a full game, then I definitely would go with Comet or Game of Thrones. Cycle 29 is looking for a game that has 3 to 4 players, plays in roughly about an hour, and something that the parents can handle. They already play Settlers, by the way. For this, you gotta go with Gateway Classics, of course, which goes with Carcassonne and Ticket to Ride. Nike Sneakers looking for a game that plays from 4 to 8 players, but he's really looking for a 6 to 8 player game. To also note, they also already own Codenames, and they can't stand how long the wait is. Now, first off, before we go on to the suggestion, get a sand timer. Get a sand timer, play with it, it comes in a box, use it, it fixes all of those problems. Now for an actual suggestion, definitely go with Insider. Hyper Sapiens looking for some sort of weird alien-ish kind of like abstract game. For this, I would definitely suggest Escape from Aliens in Outer Space. Oh wait, you meant alien just as in different. AK-2040 is looking for a game to follow up after actually playing Pandemic Legacy all the way through. And just like before, I would definitely suggest going with Risk Legacy, and a follow-up would probably Mechs vs. Minions, and just basically about any of the other escape room games that are out there at this point. Now is another episode of What Should I Get? This is Gary Pope from Late to the Table. Be sure to follow me on all my social media platforms or wherever I'm gonna do with them here, and I hope you're enjoying your breakfast.
Okay, so today we're taking a look here again. These are deluxe resource tokens compatible with Caverna. And these tokens, which are all purchasable online, most of them actually originated from Jamie Stegmaier. And so I showed you the animals before, now we're showing everything else. Okay, so these gems here, they're a little bigger than maybe I'd want. They could be used for the rubies in Caverna, but they sure are, noticeable. Here we have the different types of goods that you can get, so you can use those for grain or for, I guess you'd use those for grain. I'm not sure I like those. This I do like a lot. These stone, they feel heavy, they look good, and they're very easy to differentiate. And finally the wood, which is something else I like quite a bit. The wood, here let's move this a little bit so you can see just all these piles. You're like, wait, what are these pumpkins? Well, these are vegetables. This piece itself is not from Stonemaier Games. Instead, these I don't know what these are from, but you could use these. Obviously, they're going to be big. These are probably not enough. I think 15 vegetables is not enough probably to play Caverna, unless you're playing with just 2 or 3 people maybe. You can get away with it. And these don't stack very well. But they do look really cool, so I like having them. But I hear that Stegmaier is coming out with some pumpkin tokens later on. So I would get this pack just for the wood, stone, and rubies, I think. The other 2 things are pretty nice, but you can take or leave them.
Hi everyone. In 5 years' time, in 2022, for the first time ever, a Arab country will host the FIFA World Cup. It will be in Qatar, and because doing any kind of sport in these weather conditions can be very hard, the Qatari have been building new stadiums, and the first one, the Khalifa International, has finished this week. It is believed to have an air cooling system that keeps the pitch at a 26 degrees Celsius temperature. I visited the country a little while back and was amazed by the amount of construction that is always going on in that country. If a skyscraper needs renovation, they rather tear it down and build a new one. I believe that the architects have asked kids to draw buildings and then actually decided to make them. This week I am playing a game that is great for kids and is all about construction. This week I am playing Make and Break Architect. In Make and Break Architect, each player receives a very colorful folding ruler. And you have challenge cards that you flip one over, and each player races to see who's the first one to create the shape that is on the card. Sometimes it can be fairly easy, but sometimes the assignment can be a bit more difficult and there might only be one way to exactly fold that shape. A lot of fun. You can play it with 4 people. There are 4 of those rulers in the game, but my son loved playing by himself, going over each card and trying to find out how he needed to do it. So a fun little game that is called Make and Break Architect. My name is Dave Luza. Thanks for watching.
Hey, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. Do you like to fidget? I like to fidget. And I always like to have something in my hand to fidget with. And the reason I state that is because fidgeting is part of a person's life who has trouble focusing. And I've always had trouble focusing. If we have something in our hands to fidget with, it helps us focus and stay focused on the activity that we're doing. Where was this when I was in college? My 2.1 GPA may have been a little bit higher. Now, fidgeting with board games. How many of you like to fidget with something when you're playing a board game? See, fidgeting brings back the focus and helps us focus on board games. One of the reasons that I enjoy shorter games is just the focus. It's easier to focus on a shorter game than a 4-hour game. The reason I'm not a rules reader or explainer is because of focus. I can read a line and be thinking about something else, hoping that somebody else is understanding what I'm reading, so I can ask them questions later. Some of my favorite things that I use to fidget with, I got these hands at Origins last year. Always a good conversation starter. Not always the best thing to have in your hand, but they do come in handy. Last year at Dice Tower Con, I had these. These are magnets from an R&R game called Attraction. And I love to spin these things. And then I also got this ring, which I'm sure many of you already have, the Crit ring. This is a D20, the hottest craze that's taken over the world is the spinner. How many of you have one of these? Amazing and awesome. Now there's no excuse for me to never lose a board game again. But it does help. It really works. It's amazing how it can bring a focus back to what you're doing. Research shows that even a little bit of fidgeting, like tapping your foot or chewing gum or whatever, helps your focus. But when you got a toy in your hand, doing something with it, a squeeze ball, this, then your focus is just that much better. Now, if you don't have trouble focusing, this may not help because you're already focusing. But these kind of things help people focus better that have trouble focusing in the first place. And in my humble opinion, I think every board game should come with a fidget toy as a first player token of some sort. Then you can't wait to be the first player. I'd like to know, do you fidget when you board game just to help you concentrate better on what you're doing? And if you do, what do you use to fidget? What's your favorite fidgeting toy? What's your take on this? I'd love to hear in the comments below. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. I'll see you next time.
So this week, I wanted to talk to you about what catches my eye with a new game. Quiet now. Hush puppy, because with convention season here, there's going to be a lot of new games. So many. And old games. I mean, UK Game Expo Bring and Buy sale, where dreams come true and the notion of personal space loses all meaning.
2, personal space. 3, stay out of my personal space. 4.
Chaz, Marler of Pair of Dice Paradise, always wanted to say that. He recently did a table scrap segment about this kind of topic. And my response to that would have been that I don't really look out for a particular publisher. And even though I love Stefan Feld, his games aren't necessarily insta-buys. I love you, Stefan Feld. You're great. So what is it about a game that makes me really interested in it? You know what? I really don't know what draws me to different games. Did not think this through. But you know it when you see it, don't you? Like Sasquatch. Because it's not themed. Though, as I said before, setting it in feudal Japan does not hurt. And it's not publisher. And it's not designer. I think for me, it kind of boils down to, hey, there's a really cool puzzle I'd like to solve. There's some difficult decisions to be made and something to build. Then I can look about how well I built that thing. Oh yeah. So what is it exactly that makes you look at a game and say, I'm going to go get that now? And remember,
Oh, I take personal space pretty seriously.
Talk to you next week. I'm going to go rob a train. 2 people will get that joke. It's fine.
All right, well, that is it for another Board Game Breakfast. Thanks so much for watching. I'm so excited that we are finally home in our studio here. It's a beautiful place, as you can see. Really having a great time getting things ready. We're still building and setting up, and it's going to take a while to kind of get to where we want to be, especially with conventions going, okay? But I do want to point out a couple things. First of all, if you haven't yet signed up for Dice Tower Cruise, do it. It's amazing. Okay, dicetowercruise.com. Find out information about there. It's the best vacation you will ever take. Secondly, if you're going to Origins, and this is still a few weeks away, but we are doing our live show at Origins. It's going to be at 8:30 Saturday night. It's in a room that's just around the corner from registration desk. We'll have exact information. It should be on the Origins event grid next time they update it. Okay, and we're also going to have a booth there. Come by and see us at the booth. We'll talk about that later, but save that time to come to our live show, 8:30 Saturday night. All right, well, that's it for now for Board Game Breakfast. I'll see you at the live Q&A. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell, and this has been Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.